This is Mommying While Muslim, recorded live and unedited. Watch as Zaiba and Uzma record their podcast, see their reactions, and find out for yourself what all the buzz is about.
This episode is sponsored by Guidance Residential. Guidance Residential has helped over 30,000 families achieve home ownership without compromising their faith. Will you be next? Let them help you. Find Guidance Residential both on Facebook and Instagram at Guidance Residential and get your questions answered. Don't let halal home ownership just be a dream to you.
Assalamu alaikum, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Momming While Muslim podcast. This is Uzma Joffrey.
And this is Zaiba. Hassan, you looked like confused for a hot second. Like, what was running through your head?
No, my network all of a sudden was freezing. And I'm like, no, not at the very beginning of the recording. Not right now.
Don't do this. Oh my goodness. Well,
How have you been?
I have to say, I'm excited because we got to see each other last weekend, IRL, in person, and we were supposed to do this recording together.
Yes,
but then
in person.
we in person. So I'm a little bit bummed, but we were enjoying I feel like we were enjoying ourselves so much.
Oh my gosh,
didn't get a chance to. So you want to tell everybody what we did and how exciting that was for us?
Yeah, I think we've talked about it on a couple of episodes and just kind of gave you a little bit of a hint about QuadMShops. I know on social media we have probably exhausted those people who only follow us on social media, but for those of you who actually listen to the podcast, go to our social media because we have some really cute reels, some collaborations that we did with the amazing Muslim womenpreneurs and mompreneurs that we met over there. We also happened to break the bank. I don't know about you, Zaiba. I did not intend to spend that much money on stuff after just decluttering my house for Ramadan, but I love everything I bought, so I've got no
you're
complaints.
Supporting other Muslim entrepreneurs and female Muslim entrepreneurs. So if you're going to spend the money, spending it within your own community is probably the best thing to do. So I wouldn't worry too much about that.
Yeah, I wasn't because a lot of the stuff was for me. I didn't even buy a lot of stuff for my kids. So.
You're too bad. Well, for me, because of the shipping.
Gifts for my children. It's oh yeah, them.
Yeah, darn it. But I am going to be going online and buying it online. So that's the thing that we're going to do. Because for shipping, I was traveling literally cross country, hours and hours. So I didn't want to have to carry anything. So I will be shipping things for my nieces and nephews and my kiddos and obviously support our female entrepreneurs. But yeah, it was so great because, I don't really have that many Muslim friends other than the ladies I grew up with, like you and Rubina and a couple of people like that. And so it was so nice to be in a situation where I was the token, non-hijabi. I love that. And we really
I didn't even notice that until you pointed it out.
I was like, wait a second.
I didn't even realize. None of us realized. We were like, oh yeah, you don't wear hijab. Big deal.
You're like, too bad, so sad. But I have to say, I loved it. I was definitely, felt welcome in the community, and these ladies were just amazing. So to new friendships, Ameen, and that's kind of what we're talking a little bit about today. It's that concept of connection and spirituality, because Ramadan is here. By the time this airs, Ramadan is going to be here. So how are you feeling? Ramadan Mubarak. How are you feeling about it? I feel like it kind of snuck up a little bit early this year. Maybe not. It does move up 10 days earlier every single year. So that's neither here nor there. So how are you feeling about it? Me, I always have a mixed bag. So I'm going to let you go in and talk about the excitement, and I'll come in and be the damper to your excitement.
Excitement curbed by a little bit of apprehension because, we're going back to the masjid for Tarawih. And this was initiated by my husband because he was like, I think we need to go back to Tarawih. And I was like, are you sure? A lot of our masjid folks still don't wear masks, although right at the front, before you can get into the masjid, there's the temperature checker. We've got one of those digital things where you walk up and it checks your temperature. We've got the masks ready. That's what I've seen from the outside of the masjid, selling Girl Scout cookies right outside of Jummah this year. And I thought, okay, that's really good that they're doing that. But Tarawih, you're there for a while, a good hour, hour and a half, depending on how many you're reading. And our masjid does 20 rakahs. So For those who are listening, Tarawih is the night prayer. It's a voluntary prayer that Muslims perform in the month of Ramadan. And in it, they are hearing the recitation of the Quran, their scripture in its entirety, one section at a time. And there's 30 sections. So the goal is to finish it as a congregation once during the month of Ramadan. Meanwhile, at home, you're trying to read it like 1 or 2 times on your own. We think that we're going to get a lot of brownie points for doing more acts of worship. So this is a really important act of worship for our family. Most young moms, I'm not going to lie, I have felt this to feel unwelcome in the masjid space because their babies cry, their kids run around because kids do not have to pray this. Menstruating women obviously don't have to pray, so they're usually not there. And so women with little kids usually will not come. I skipped a couple of years and it was such a bad Ramadan experience for me that I knew I had to go. So even when I was breastfeeding, even when I had a kid strapped to my back, I was praying, but I needed to do that. And so for our family, it is really, really important. So the last 3, was it 2 Ramadans that we've spent?
Yes.
Yeah,
No,
2 pandemic Ramadans.
2 pandemic and 1, yeah, and this is the
Yeah.
first one back. That's right. Oh my God.
This is the third. Yeah.
Third.
So 2 pandemics, like praying Tarawih at home has been different. Still a magical experience, but it has been different than going to the masjid, and like praying shoulder to shoulder with your friends and your peers and your masjid family. So I'm apprehensive because I'm afraid, as we were talking about before the recording, a close friend of ours who's done everything right got infected recently and got really sick. And I can't afford to do that because my daughter's restarting her immunotherapy and she's going to be immunocompromised for the next 6 months. So I'm really, really scared that we're going to either pick something up or bring something home to her. So I don't know if it's the best decision for us right now. However, it's Ramadan. I'm always excited about Ramadan because that's when I feel like I'm my best self. So does that answer your question?
No, I love that. Okay, so let's unpack that a little bit. Why do you feel I'm flipping
You're
the
such a
lid.
coach.
I'm like, why do you feel like Ramadan brings out your best self? So what is it about that month that makes you feel like, okay, I'm putting my best foot forward? Like, I'm curious about that.
Yeah, I don't know. Like I've lately felt more and more, as I'm listening to our old sessions and creating new content out of them. You mentioned sometimes Ramadan Muslim, and I'm realizing I'm a Ramadan Muslim. That's when I am willing to make the changes that are necessary for my mental and spiritual health that I'm not willing to invest in during the rest of the year. I'm still trying to figure out why that is, because busyness is just a thought. You're
Yes.
only as busy as you think you are, because there's people that we know who, come on, they are not busy in our book, but in their book, they're really busy. And in our books, we're really busy, but are we? Are we? Like maybe they're not the only ones who need to rethink their business. Maybe we do too.
Yes.
And so I'm trying to get there and trying to figure out why that is. I'm not really sure where the barakah goes in my time, the blessings in my time after Ramadan, but I'm going to try to be really conscious of the changes that I make every day. And because I'm going to be waking up earlier, it's time to journal, like actually put my thoughts down on a piece of paper with all these beautiful journals that I've gotten now from QuadM. Thank you, Muslim Planners USA. So I'm super excited to kind of track a pattern and figure out what it is that I'm doing that I can continue doing during the rest of the year. I know I say that every year, but I feel like by the end of Shawwal, it's over. The month after Ramadan, like pretty much that first week, it's like, okay, fizzles out.
So you feel that it fizzles out, but I want to remind you that you're not a Ramadan Muslim. You're not.
Aw,
So
you're so sweet.
you need to change that narrative. But I also want you to recognize like how you feel when you're and that's what the feeling of that is what needs to be translated. Meaning it's not like you're practicing only during the month of Ramadan, but that concept of super deep connection, I think, is what you're trying to focus on continuing forward, not necessarily the practice for the sake of practicing, because that's a little bit different. I feel that people don't, there are some people that are true Ramadan Muslims, and may God, bless them. I don't care. They're like, during Ramadan, I fast, but as soon as that's over, you're doing it, and I love that. But the concept of connection and spirituality really should be carried throughout the year. And we're not talking about hours and hours of worship, right? Where that, like, I'm going to lock myself into a room and this is what I'm going to do. Really, that connection can happen in 2 to 3 minutes a day. And that's what people don't get. They think it's either all or nothing, but it's like, okay, I'm having a little bit of a mental breakdown. Let me stop, put my head on the mat, the prayer mat, and get reconnected. And really, it takes 2 to 3 minutes. So that is something I feel like that's a small, tangible things that people can take forward. And so I love that you're journaling, because I've been telling you that for a while, and trying to figure out patterns of behavior, which is another great reason
I
to
didn't
do
have
that.
pretty enough journals.
I know. And now somebody made it for you. But I love that. So what are you going to do as a
Yeah.
mom to kind of,
Yeah.
reiterate that concept of the actual reality of what Islam or what is fasting is actually supposed to be about, right? It's not just about starving yourself and I have to pray, make sure I'm praying all that. How are you going to like tell that and share that with your children? Because your children are getting older, mine are getting older, and
Yeah.
that spirituality and that connection to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is really what we want to focus on for the month of Ramadan, not just what are we having for iftar. So how are you going to
Right.
introduce that to your children?
Well, practical aspect, our masjid, even though they have been open for Tarawih actually for a couple of years now. They're not doing the iftars like they used to, so I still have to cook.
Yeah.
So iftar time, dinner time, I think is a good time to be like, okay, we're going back to praying as a family, because that's something that also stops happening after Ramadan. Typically, we'll only pray
Yes.
together like
Same with
Dhuhr
us.
and
Yeah.
Maghrib time. Yeah.
Yeah.
So during Ramadan, I love it because then we're praying Jama'at like, throughout the day together. At least my homeschooling ones will be. And, discussing like, how did the fast go? What are the choices that we made that could have been made better? What do we need to prep for tomorrow? I would really love, because I essentially have 2 kids in middle school, one about to enter, one about to go to high school. I think it's time to have those like kitchen table talks that I grew up having. And it was particularly in Ramadan where, the stories from the Quran, the stories of the prophets were shared with me. And I feel like sharing any stories of the prophets is good any time of the year, but particularly in Ramadan because of the characteristics of our prophets, patience, fortitude, resilience, iman, tawakkul Allah, awareness of Allah. That's always, I think it hits harder in Ramadan. And I want my kids to feel that love and mercy of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that he had towards his prophets. I want them to strive to make it like, to emulate the prophets so that Allah loves them like he loved them. You know what I mean?
Right.
A long time ago, I heard someone said, I don't think it's a hadith or anything, but it's you do the fard, or the obligatory acts, because you love Allah. And then you do the sunnah, what the prophets did, specifically what Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, did. But you perform the sunnah so that Allah will love you.
Right.
And I think that's really important because, my kids, they shortcut, they do what they're required, and then they run. So nobody really has the habit of performing the sunnah. So I would love to share these stories with them so that they feel like incentivized themselves inherently to do it. I don't think I'm going to require them to. I've never done that. But I think I'm going to ask that they consider doing that this year because they're older, and these are practices that they can, fulfill on their own. And I remember doing it as an adult and feeling really good about my connection with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And I would like to share that with them this year.
I love that. I absolutely love that. So inshallah, that will happen.
So tell me about you. Inshallah. Yeah. Pray for me, pray for my family. But tell me about your Ramadan, what your anticipatory feelings are and what your anticipatory plan is this year.
Well, I always, it's a known, I'm not the best fasting person. And there's a reason why. Okay. Because I do believe that you should carry that spirituality throughout. Like I'm not a big believer in, I only want to do this during Ramadan and let's try not to be focused, and which I love. I love that people do that. And I love that. For me, I feel like I should be doing that, one, throughout the year anyway, right? So that's the one thing. And two, unlike like you have homeschoolers and things like that. I have 2 fasting kids. I have a third one who this year is like, I really want to fast. Awesome. And they're in school all day. and they have their practices. And so it's not like we have that opportunity to sit and relax or sit and do this, or it's like we're on the go, 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 go. So that obviously becomes physically exhausting. This year, I'm going to try to change my narrative. Instead of being complaining about it, I'm going to focus on, okay, I want to continue. I want to have the patience, because it's the patience that I lacked specifically during Ramadan. And I recognize that. And that is something I'm going to be focusing on. But we also don't have that community. So that is something like in journaling, in looking back, I realized, what is it about Ramadan that brings up some triggered memories and triggered feelings in me? And I recognize it's because, one, we don't have family near where we live. We don't really have that close connection to the extended community. And because we are unmosqued, which is what we call it, we don't have a connection to a masjid near us. So we don't have that feeling of the communal feeling that I had growing up. So part of me has that FOMO and that kind of, I can't believe that I'm missing out on this, and I can't provide that for my children. I think it's funny because a lot of people just assume like I get invited we don't. And we spend Eid by ourselves, so it is actually a very lonely experience. I love that my personal family, we get super connected. Like you said, we have those frank conversations at the kitchen table. I'm a big believer in reading the Quran in English, specifically during Ramadan, because I want my kids, it's not just about reading it in Arabic to get no, I want them to understand what it is that we're reading, what are the meanings behind it. We break down, like, honestly, one surah can take weeks to really break down if you do it the way that it's supposed to, that I feel like you're supposed to really understand when it was revealed, why was it revealed at that time, what was going on historically, blah, blah, blah. So I really am trying to focus that particular section for my kids. That's the first thing. But I'm realizing now, I think I'm grumpy and I think I'm sad because it's coming from a fear of, missing out. Like, we don't have that. So for this year, coincidentally, we have spring break overlapping for the first week. And so we're going to go home. We're going to go to Chicago. We're going to see our families. And our kids are so excited because to have that traditional iftar, tarawih type of experience, because of course the masjids there, in my opinion, are a little bit more equipped for that. No, I'm not dissing the DMV area by any means, but they're, they had that when I was growing up and I'm old now, so like it's just that much more established, I feel like, than the communities here. And so I'm really looking forward to that. I'm looking forward to being with family, opening our fast together. They'll get some of, Dadi and Dada John's cooking versus Mama's cooking. It's always a little bit different. And maybe being with their cousins a little bit. I think my hope is that they'll have that concept and that feeling of community that I feel personally we're lacking. So I don't even know if I just had emotional breakthrough on camera right now, or if I actually answered your question. No clue. But I'm going to try not to be a grumpy fasting person this year, and I hope God helps me with that plan.
Ameen. Yeah, no, Ameen, Summa Ameen. I think that's incredible. And, it is such a special feeling as an adult with children to go back and have iftar with your family. I didn't have that until my parents moved here a few years ago. And it's just a whole nother beast because now you're helping with the preparations. And, back when I was growing up, I was helping with the cleanup and setting the table and taking it down. But I didn't do the cooking, So this is like a whole nother level. Like, it feels like you've arrived. For those of you who have stayed close to home and close to your families, like, you don't realize the blessing that you have, or maybe you do, and may Allah increase you and keep you with your families. But for those of us who left home and, basically never went back, there's a lot of withdrawal, I feel like, that you have. And I love that you realize that that's probably what it is. And I do hope that you are able to connect, especially for your younger set, in your local Muslim community to
Yes.
kind of make that Ramadan feeling special. I know at our masjid, a couple of moms got together and did a really cute pre-Ramadan party at the masjid. So the kids like made cookies and made some cards, which was really sweet. They were super excited, trashed the masjid, but they have such a positive association with it, right? Like we got to
Yeah.
eat frosting out of a tube and like, yay, Ramadan. So they're super duper excited. Ramadan lists are coming to me. They're being changed on a daily basis, like what they want for Eid. And then, some friends and I got together first to, celebrate the beginning, like just moms only, so that we could be like, okay, we're about to get super busy and
Yeah.
not see each other for an entire month because our priorities are spiritual connection
Your
with Allah
family.
subhanahu wa ta'ala. But let's just touch base, share some of what you and I are sharing here with each other
Hmm.
so that we can have the most successful Ramadan as moms because I know my mom did this. Your mom probably did this too. They spent all of Ramadan in the kitchen.
Oh, the whole time.
All of
That's
Ramadan in the
all.
kitchen.
Yeah.
Until they realized, a lot later, my mom realized it's better to get everything ready ahead of time so that you can just fry the samosas, fry the pakoras, fry whatever, right before iftar, and the rest of the day she would have time for her own worship, which I
Yeah.
didn't really see her doing as a young child. So mom sharing notes beforehand, and then again we went out, did a picnic, and did some crazy, crafts and stuff with the kids. But basically, they ran around the park high on sugar. But again, anticipating Ramadan and getting really excited. I think those are the kinds of small things. Like you don't even need to be. You could still be demosqued, I think, and create these kinds of events and participate in these kinds of events and create that excitement for the young generation, for the younger set that you've got at home. So that's
Yeah.
just a little piece of advice that I have or
I,
a
I
suggestion.
love that, and I might actually do that. Yeah, I definitely feel like at our local mosque, specifically, the demographic is younger. Like they're actually my
Yeah.
number three is on the older side, even of that younger demographic. So
Oh, well,
it's a little bit harder for my older set to feel that connection that
connection.
they do
Yeah.
feel when they do go back and visit their uncles and aunts in Chicago and in the
Yeah.
Milwaukee area. So my hopes is, before everybody knows my older one is about to go to college, and we're talking a little bit, and I'm like, you need to start thinking about joining the MSA and things like that. And I said, just if anything, you have this instant connection. I know that sounds crazy, but you do. You have an instant connection
You have something in
and
common. Hmm.
commonality. You have something in common. And so, obviously you're different people, but you have something in common. So I just feel like I agree. You have to model that type of behavior. You have to go and seek it out to the extent that you can.
Hmm.
And I definitely want to try to do that. It was hard in the last 2 years, right? Because it was COVID. So really everybody
Oh,
was
right.
doing what we were doing for the last gazillion years. But I feel like this year people are ready to kind of venture out a little bit. So I'm excited. I'm excited about it.
Now, that's where some of my apprehension comes in, right? Because I have heard over and over, now that COVID is over, now that COVID is over. COVID is very much
You're like,
not
it's
over,
not over,
folks. Like we
people.
are, who told you it was over? Because after Memorial Day, we anticipate another spike coming up. So this will be after Eid, right? So that's just the nature
Oh,
of
wow.
the
I didn't
viruses.
realize
Like if
that.
anybody wants to go back and listen to our interview with Sarah Madad that we did
Yeah.
right as the pandemic was happening, and she explained like there's this it's a cyclical event and it's going to take years. So people thinking that COVID is over, you're so wrong. We are
Yeah.
identifying new mutants
You're wrong.
pretty much every week.
Yeah.
We are counting cases pretty much every week. So please, please, if you're going to the masjid, please continue wearing your mask. I know what the CDC said. I know what your states are saying. Please wear the mask to mitigate your risk, mitigate your children's risk, mitigate the risk to people like my daughter who will not have any B cells for 6 months. It's really, really important. Your lovely grandparents that are out there, to protect them, please continue wearing masks outdoors. If you can do high fives and elbow bumps, I get it, but it's Ramadan. We're going to start hugging and kissing. Just do it through the mask. A
Yeah.
kiss is a kiss, right? So that's where my apprehension comes in, because I'm just so, so afraid that part of that spike that we're going to see after Memorial Day is going to include our population of Muslims who were exposed multiple times during the month of Ramadan and at Eid.
So we have to just kind of keep up to date on like the CDC's recommendations and things like that. Is that kind of what you're recommending for people?
Well, I mean, the CDC is like saying masks are okay to take off now. So no, I disagree with that, And it's okay. I've sent people to the CDC and I will still say go to cdc.gov to look at the cases. But if you're looking at that and you're not seeing, a persistent decline in the numbers, then I think you keep your masks on, guys, until our people stop getting infected in the tens of thousands every day. I think it's
Yeah.
really important for us to keep those masks on. I don't care if you're vaccinated. I don't care if you're boosted. I think it's still important, And again, I'm fearful, and I know that the second anybody gets infected in our masjid, I'm out of there, So
You're like,
my
I'm
family and
shutting
me.
this down.
Yeah, we're just doing tarawih at home. So inshallah that doesn't happen. But, we always expect the best but prepare for the worst. So that's the plan.
That's all you can do. What does it say? Tie your camel first. Isn't that kind of what it is
Tie
like?
your camel and then pray. Exactly.
Yeah,
Yeah. Thank you
that's
for
all you can
Musliming it,
do.
Muslimifying
Yeah.
it.
Tie your camel first,
Yeah.
people, because obviously God gave you a brain to think about that. So yeah, I have to say because I haven't Quad M was the first event that I went to where there was a lot of people, and I do have to say it is from a mental perspective, it is a little bit stressful when you're kind of walking in and you're just like, oh my
Yeah.
gosh, like. But part of me too, I'm just going to be honest with you.
Nobody's
I
wearing a
know
mask.
nobody's well, including me too. I'm just gonna be honest about it. But
Well,
I
I
did
took mine
test.
off because I felt like a dummy because
Yeah,
nobody else
because
was wearing one. And I
nobody
totally
was.
succumbed to the peer pressure.
I succumbed to the peer pressure too. But in fairness, I like tested as soon as I got home. Like I tested and
Oh, yeah.
I did all of that. Because we are going to
Yeah.
be seeing my in-laws and things like that. So I wanted to make
Yeah.
sure everything was kosher, and we all tested. I didn't want to bring anything home because for 2 seconds
Yeah.
I'm like, I have a sore throat. Does that mean something?
Yeah.
I'm
You
like,
had a sore throat there.
no.
I was so afraid.
And I was like, oh, but it was nothing. I don't know what it was. It was the one day it tested negative. So I'm like, okay, maybe it's just a regular cold. But it is a scary thing. And I didn't hear that there would be
Yeah.
another spike in Memorial Day.
Mm.
So it does kind of put a damper on gatherings. But, my recommendation for people
It's
is
not a fact. It's not for real. It's just guesstimated that it
estimated
will
that
spike
that's what
again.
it would be. So my suggestion to
Yeah.
people is do what's right for your family. Try to take
Yeah.
precautions when you can. And if you feel like it's not going to help, when in doubt, just stay home because a lot of
Mhm.
organizations are going to be doing hybrid. They're still going to be offering the virtual plus the in-person
Yeah.
in moderated numbers. So do what's best for you all. And the beauty is Eid is going to be hopefully outdoor and a beautiful outdoor event. The weather's going to be
Inshallah.
okay. It's going to hold up. I know it's going to be like 200 degrees where you are, but it won't be that hot
Yeah.
where
We're not
I
having
am.
an outdoor Eid, I don't think.
And I was like, oh my gosh, I don't want to deal with that. So I'm going to choose to remain optimistic and hope that I don't have to wear a mask. But to your point, if we do, then we do. Have it coordinate with your outfit and be fine.
It's okay. Like masks never killed anybody. I promise, guys. We're not asking you to gag yourselves. You guys have done this for a couple of years. You know how to do it. 30 more days just at night. If you're going to Tarawih, is fine. Like, please do it. Or consider those who are attending and are immunocompromised or high at risk. They are, even if they're immunized. So please remember that. We are not completely bulletproof just because we've had these shots, but we've done our very best. We can always do better. So I think that's our plans for Ramadan. I'm just so excited to welcome it and to welcome it with our mom sisters. Our crowd has grown, alhamdulillah. We've had a bunch of people start listening, especially after Quad M. And I think we forgot to tell people what Quad M is because I do want to plant this seed for next year for folks, or maybe even for Eid al-Adha. We have, been to Ramadan bazaars before where people are vending their goods at the masjid at like 6x4 tables or 6x2 tables, whatever it is, and selling their stuff. Beautiful, wonderful. It's like fun and joy, and there's a jumpy house and a barbecue. It's always great. Quad M is really an elevated bazaar. And it was, I don't even know how many vendors there were. There were like 50 something female vendors selling their goods and items. And it was done so beautifully, so well organized. Like, kudos to the Quad M team for putting this together. It's a Herculean effort, and they did it. And I think we should see that happening in more Muslim communities. If it's happening in yours, please contact us. We'd like to know, because we had a stall at QuadM too. And we would love to come to your city and do the same thing. Because, I mean, Zaiba, what was the reception to us over there?
Oh, I was, people didn't know who the heck we were. Okay. I was like, what? We're the best podcast you don't know about. But once they met us, obviously when you see us in person, I think we're pretty cool. I'm a little bit of a nerd cool, but that's okay.
Yeah.
Uzma's like a cool. But it's just one of those things where you meet the people, you can connect, because really that's what we're trying to do, right? We're trying to create this virtual connection, and there is no substitute for in-person connection. And honestly, being able to talk to the listeners or potential listeners and be like, what do you want to hear? How can we actually help you? Did you know that we started this not because you and I we do like to talk, but not because we like to talk, but because we legitimately want to be a resource for people. And how can we help you? And I was just so surprised by, the open feedback. There were people that drove so far to come and actually see us and take pictures with us. And I was like, wow, because we're in a little box here, right? We have a microphone in front of us. We have two boxes. Uzma and I have
We're just
always
talking into
recorded.
space.
We're talking into space.
Yeah.
So to be able to feel like, wow, there is actually somebody listening on the other side, I can't tell you how much I appreciate it. I know Uzma appreciates it as well.
Always.
Because we started this with the purest of intentions. And I feel like we continue to try to keep ourselves in check. And when we don't, we have the other to remind us, okay, remember what we're doing and why we're doing this. And, you can't please everybody, but really at the core, this is what we're trying to do for our community, whether we agree with it or not. It was a humbling experience to be able to feel that and witness that in person for me personally. But what about for you?
Like you, I was shocked that 90% of the people that we met, first of all, were confused. Like, what are you guys selling? And we're like, us.
We're like,
we don't have products to sell. It's just us. And we want you to listen to our podcast. And then it was shocking to us to hear that they hadn't heard about us. And 160 episodes, 3 years in, we were like, man, we've worked really hard. This means we have to work like
even harder.
3-4 times as hard as we have been, even harder, to get people to hear us, because this is the resource that we wish we had in the beginning of our mothering journey. At least that's true for me, because, I spent a lot of time on Kelly Mom, and there was a lot of things that just didn't apply to my demographic.
It doesn't make sense.
I'm Muslim,
like, that's cool for
I
you,
can't
but
do
that
I cannot drink beer to increase my milk. Like, it's just
exactly.
Can't do it, So things that we need in the workplace, and accommodations that we need in the workplace, accommodations in school that we need for our kids, the ones that we needed when we were growing up. But it was a different time, pre 9/11. So post 9/11, it's just, everybody knows, the last 4 years, if you didn't know before, you really learned in the last 4 years how badly we need these resources. So we need each other. And we can do this better if we're together, if we're learning like together from each other. I think that's really, really important. And that really brought it out for me in QuadM. Like, man, we've got to go to more of these events and meet more of our listeners. Because like you said, that connection in person, so many people were surprised at how tall we are.
Yeah. They're like, you guys are super tall.
You're taller.
Like,
we're just talking heads on video, but we're tall.
Or other people are just tiny.
Come on out.
That's how I want to say. You guys are just tiny.
I know. We were wearing heels.
Size.
Yeah, except you were barefoot most of the time.
Yes.
I did feel like barefoot. Gandalf at one point.
I
was like, oh my God. I didn't wear my heels today because I felt like Gandalf already.
Exactly. I was like, I'm going to be barefoot. Let's just boo up. But it was a
Yeah.
great experience. And that's something that I feel like
Beautiful.
that connection that we can continue, to wrap it up in a pretty bow to have that communal feeling and experience
Yeah.
and carry that into the month of Ramadan for ourselves and our
Oh,
family.
beautiful.
So
Yeah.
thank you, Quaden, for kicking
Yeah.
it off for us. We definitely appreciate that.
Yeah. 100%. So you want to do rapid fire on each other?
Oh yeah. Well,
Oh,
I
yeah.
always want to know what you're reading because like I have 4 books on my side table and 2 downloaded on Audible that I'm in the process of reading right now. So it's so hard because I'm like,
Oh, my goodness.
which book
Okay.
am I reading today? Because I have different books
I
that I do for
know.
different
That's
things,
complicated.
so it's complicated.
Mm.
So I want to start off, I'm going to pull up the rapid fire and we'll just go back and forth. I'm so
Starting the timer.
excited. Oh, wait, don't start the timer. I'm
So,
pulling it up.
oh, don't? Okay.
Wait. I want to pull it up and my hair keeps getting stuck in this microphone for God's sakes. I'm just looking it up. I didn't have it prepared, Uzma.
Mm. It's
Okay.
okay. I didn't give you notes this time. And we did okay.
We did okay. It was okay. So I'm excited. I have this pulled up. I have some new ones here for you.
Can I start?
And okay,
Go.
you ready?
Yeah.
What is the book that you're reading right now?
The Enneagram and You. It's a book and workbook. I'm trying to go back and review, did my Enneagram change, and learn a little bit more about it that I didn't know.
Because you're
What about
learning
you?
about yourself.
What book are you
I
reading?
love that. I'm
Yeah.
reading 3 different books right now. So the first one, I know. Actually, this one, it's a really, really good book. I'm going to pull it out. Ooh, just to get recertified in neuro-linguistic programming. So this is the, by the way, everybody, cheat sheet. You can do that
Gummies.
because it's a quicker read. And the other book I'm reading, of course, I always go back I just finished the Wajahat Ali book, which was a very good book and very surprising. And I just downloaded on Audible Dare to Lead from Brene Brown, and
Brene Brown.
which I love because I'm in the process of getting certified for executive coaching through her particular institute, and that was the book that I had to finish reading. And for fun, I'm reading Apples Never Fall by Leanne I don't know how to pronounce her name.
Moriarty. Oh, that's a fiction.
Yeah, that's a fiction. That's the
Yeah.
book. That's what I
Yeah.
listen to when I'm folding laundry. And then the other
Okay.
things are when I'm doing my mindless home tasks like dishes or cleaning cat poop from litter boxes, all that fun stuff. Okay. So we'll write those down because those are actually all really good books. So now my next question is, and I always love learning more about you, what is your favorite dessert? Because I definitely notice you have a sweet tooth, but of everything what is your favorite?
Man, my favorite dessert? I would have to say my current obsession is a good bread pudding.
I know you were talking about that. You tried to make me eat it and it was gross. What was it called? What was the one that you made
I
me
don't remember.
taste? It was the one that we got
I
from
don't
the
remember.
stall next door, and you're like, there's like put bread and like a
Oh, the Aisha
cream.
Soraya. Yeah. So that Aisha Soraya, yeah, you'll have to taste my Palestinian friends, Aisha
Because I was
Soraya.
like,
It's
oh,
like
this
off
is
the
not good.
charts. It was completely different. Yeah, when I tasted it, I was like, that's not the Aisha Soraya I know.
I'm like, this was not good. This was not good. But I was able to
Okay.
try the Kanafa. Was it Kanafa for the first time?
Kanafa
Because we
Queens.
met the
Yeah.
Kanafa Queen, and that was actually really good. And I do have to say, it didn't sound good, and I was very apprehensive
She was
about
so
trying it because
apprehensive, and then she
it
finished the
looked
whole thing.
weird. But then I ate the whole thing, and I have I haven't had sugar, but I definitely paid for it the next day. Everybody, I haven't had sugar in a long time, but it was
Yes, you
worth
did.
it.
Totally worth it. Okay, my turn. What is something, a secret talent that you have that nobody knows about?
Oh my gosh, that's so funny. I actually am a really good singer. I do have to say. I used to sing. I have a minor in
Oh, that's
voice,
right. You're
which
choir.
Yeah, I had a minor in voice in college, believe it or not. And I was
Wow.
supposed to be a pop star. I was just supposed to be a pop star.
Jam.
But
Oh,
it didn't quite happen. But yeah, I actually can sing pretty well, and I used to do that. And I have a minor in voice in college. But what I do with that is sing really good lullabies to my children, and that's the extent of it.
beautiful.
But what is a secret talent of yours?
I probably can't share that on air, but what I can share is
Oh no, I kind of
I
have a
can
feeling
pack a
I
lot
know
of
what this.
calories. I can pack a ton of calories. Like I would
And
make a
she's
great. This
teeny.
is terrible. No, I'm not teeny, but I can eat like a horse, and people who watch me eat are like shocked and horrified, but they're usually kind enough not to say anything. But I've had guys be like, "Oh my God, you can eat." It's like, yeah, I sure can.
You're like, I can
I should compete
really.
one day.
Yeah, exactly. You're like, that could be
Alhamdulillah.
so good. But alhamdulillah, you should be thankful because you have a good metabolism.
Alhamdulillah.
And if I even think about eating, I gain weight. So the fact that you can do that and you're still as tiny as you are, that's amazing. So the last question, are you ready? What is your
I'm ready.
Hogwarts house?
Gryffindor. Always.
Really? Not Ravenclaw?
I'm No, yeah. So people think I would be Ravenclaw because, I like the numbers and stuff, but
Yeah.
I think I'm pretty fearless and pretty dumb fearless like the Gryffindors are, right? Like Harry Potter and his crew, pretty dumb walking into some dangerous situations. I'll do
You're
that too.
like,
I have
what?
done that, in fact.
I-
Yeah.
Okay, so we're gonna have to get the story behind that. But I
There's
love
a couple
you.
of stories of stupid stuff I've done because I'm just that brave.
You're
I'm
like,
not really
I'm just
brave. I'm
gonna do
just
that. I'm just
oblivious.
gonna go in
This
and
seems
see
like
where
a
it
good
goes. No,
idea right now.
well, I always love it getting to know you even better, and I wouldn't have pictured you as a Gryffindor. I would have pictured you more as a
I'm gonna have to wear my
Ravenclaw.
Gryffindor scarf now for you. I have a
Yeah,
Gryffindor
you have to
scarf.
do
Yeah.
that. You have to do that.
Hmm.
But no, we are so excited, and we're wishing everybody a Ramadan Mubarak. If
Ramadan
you're listening
Mubarak.
to this, like I was drinking because we're recording this and we're not fasting right now. So in a week we will be fasting, and I will not be drinking my water. But inshallah, we'll see you guys soon, and hope that your Ramadan is blessed. And just another note for people: if you can't do the tarawis, if you can't do all those things, you do it because you're in the throes of motherhood and mommying. By the way, being a mother is its own act of worship, and you
100%.
need to embrace that, accept it, and take ownership of it.
Yeah.
Because trust me, we understand. We were there, we were in the trenches, and quite frankly, it is some hard work.
Tarawih ain't harder than that, I promise you.
Inshallah and amen.
Also, we forgot to say, like, I think it's on one of our reels, but like the original Mother's T-shirt, you can't see it in here, but go back to our
Oh,
reels or our TikTok.
yes.
The
Forgot
OG,
about it.
that was something that was available at our stall, and we've gotten some requests for the original Mother's T-shirt. So Zaiba will have updates on that probably, inshallah, at our next episode or something.
Yeah, exactly. No, we people always ask us how can we support you because we don't have a traditional, of course, on Patreon, which Uzma's in charge of, and we'll post that. But another thing is we have created this beautiful original mother shirt. I don't have it here, but we will make sure we have a reel of it.
I'm wearing
That
it. I'm trying
you're
to
wearing
show it
it.
off.
You should show
I'm
it
wearing
off.
it.
Show it off.
Original
See
Mothers.
and spin it
And it has our
around.
little logo. Okay, I'm gonna try to spin around without knocking everything over. If you wear hijab, it's gonna hide it, but
Yeah,
I'm not
but
telling
see
you
how
not to wear
cool it's
hijab.
this worship like Mary because we're talking
You can
about
see all my rolls.
how
See, I can eat. I told you guys.
I love it. And this is the truth of it. Like, we always talk about the original mothers. Islam was passed along in the laps of the mamas. And we want to just pay tribute to them. And you can pay us. Very fun to do that, to support us, because quite frankly, it is a tough job. Uzma and I are out of pocket every single month because we believe in this so passionately and we want to continue the work, and this kind of just helps us a little bit. So if you want to support us, we will put the link on I think it's going to go back onto our website. So feel free to, and the t-shirt material is beautiful. It's longer. So
this is
your
so
bonbons.
comfy. Yes.
Because it's always
yes. You didn't see it
shirts.
Covers my butt because we have to cover butts.
We have to cover our bonbons.
So that the khaltos at the Masjid al-Taraweeh won't call you out for showing your duff while you pray.
You're like, darn it.
No, all right, guys. That was awesome.
We'll see you guys soon.
Alrighty. Assalamu alaikum, everybody.
This episode is sponsored by Guidance Residential. Guidance Residential has helped over 30,000 families achieve home ownership without compromising their faith. Will you be next? Let them help you. Find Guidance Residential both on Facebook and Instagram at Guidance Residential and get your questions answered. Don't let halal home ownership just be a dream to you.